Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when and where you're listening to this. This is Coffee with Kevin, and I enjoy that music. I kind of enjoy the kind of tone and everything. A little bit of like, yeah, baby. I tried dancing like that at my networking groups, and what I hear is white guy dancing. Well, I do my best to do my best. And that's all I can ask of any of the people that I work with, and just ask of anyone is to do your best to do your best. And you will find the results. You will find the kind of life that you want to live. All right, good morning. It's March. It's March 3rd of 2026. We're in March already, the third month of 2026. Oh my goodness. It is, wow. It's just time. Yes, time is starting to fly. Again, I talk about this almost every week lately. Um, at the beginning of the year, first month and a half, I was every day was going nice and slow. And I know that when I think of today and think of tomorrow, if I think tomorrow, for instance, tomorrow is Wednesday, right? If I think it's Thursday, things are going much too fast. If I think it's Tuesday, which today is, things are going nice and slow and I'm enjoying them, right? So you look at how you look at time, and that'll tell you how time's going by fast or not. And yeah, again, I'll say, times go by fast sometimes when you're enjoying yourself a lot, but I like to slower enjoy myself during the day, every moment of the day. Those are the kind of days I like. And you're going to say, well, Kevin, I work all day. What do you mean enjoying yourself every moment of the day? Well, first of all, if you get really, really busy, that work goes by so fast. And that's kind of a good thing for most people. But I also enjoy my work. So I don't want it to go by so fast. So yeah, it's kind of a conundrum sometimes, but I don't want the year to fly by. I don't want the year to fly by like it has in the past. And some of you probably have seen that and had that happen to you, where the year just flew by. And as you get older, the years seem to go faster, and that's because as you get older, you have so many years in your life. When you're 10 years old, a year is 1/10 of your life. When you're 50 years old, a year is 1/50th of your life. So it's a lot smaller. So it seems to go a lot faster. By the way, I didn't introduce Coffee with Kevin today. Coffee with Kevin. I'm Kevin. This is my coffee. And is it good? This is the cup I started off with 6 years ago. It's a lot faded now. It looked a lot better. And sometimes you'll see, if I put an animation out of Coffee with Kevin, you'll see me with this cup. And it's a lot, it's a lot more detailed. It says, follow our arrows. I can actually make it out. It's kind of a little bit of a Native American type of pattern. It's kind of interesting. Well, let's talk about today. Today, is an anniversary of something not so good for our country, which was the anniversary of the Rodney King arrest, which kind of turned this country around on its feet. There were riots all over the country and everything, and it was just it was a terrible time to live in. But it taught us. Well, I'd like to say it taught us a lesson. We've had many since in some riots and stuff since for the same reason. But it taught us that we really have to look at ourselves not in the light of the color of our skin, but look at ourselves as human beings. Look at other people as human beings, not as black, white, brown, yellow, but as human beings. And we can then we can actually then use the judgments to maybe in judgments of any sort aren't great, but if our judgments weren't by the exterior and we maybe would judge people by what they're saying and how they're saying it, maybe it's a little bit more accurate to judge by as opposed to what they look like. That's a lesson we should all learn. That's a lesson. But something else, a better thing, in 1887, geez, I'm 100 years off, 1887, a lady named Anne Sullivan was starting to work with a 6-year-old. The 6-year-old was deaf and mute and blind. Helen Keller. And that's when the change for Helen Keller that changed her life, that allowed her to start changing the lives of many, many, many others through this teacher, through this mentor, through this caretaker, Anne Sullivan. And sometimes we can do that for others. We can help others, and those others can turn around and help many others. Those others can turn around and help many others. Sometimes we can have that effect. We can have that effect, and it multiplies, and it's just such a great thing. And Sullivan had no idea that by helping this little girl, she was going to be able to help many, many, many others and take a part in history. And so it's amazing when we reach out and try to help someone. We never know where it's going to go, what impact it's going to have. But don't look for that. Just do it anyway. Just do it anyway. So, how many of you think that's a great idea? Just do it. And, that's the Nike. Just do it, right? So, I'm going to say when it comes to helping someone else, whether it's helping someone that needs a little help crossing the street or whatever it is, or helping somebody that needs a helping hand, maybe going to help them with something that they're doing at their house or whatever. Someone recently just volunteered right out of the blue. I mean, he's a friend, but we've never really gone out socially. We know each other through business. And I was talking about something I was having to do with plumbing, and instantly he said, I got tools, and I'll come over your house and I can help you. And it's just, wow, that is great. That is just great. I loved hearing that. And so, yeah, just do it when it comes to helping someone else. You never know where it's going to go. All right, today is about becoming. You know why? Why becoming? Because, if you set your goals at the beginning of the year and you're finding, hey, I don't know how far I'm getting to go through those goals, but I haven't reached them yet. And of course, if you set some bigger goals at the beginning of the year, you may not have come close to reach them yet. But who are you becoming on this journey to reach those goals? It's not about the goals. It's about who you're becoming. And when we talk about becoming something, we often think about a butterfly because a caterpillar becomes this butterfly. That's a great story and a great metaphor that we use for change, that we use for progress and process. So, it's interesting. There's a moment in the life of a caterpillar when everything changes. Up until that point, its job is pretty simple. It crawls, it eats, and it grows. Wow, talk about a simple life. Crawl, eat, and grow. And that's the life of an infant, right? Baby. Crawl, eat, and grow. Day after day, it does what it always has done. But then something instinctive happens. It stops. Yeah. It finds a place and it begins to build a cocoon. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Inside that cocoon, the caterpillar doesn't just grow wings. It actually breaks down completely. Scientifically, it dissolves in some kind of biological soup. I always like that term, biological soup, because I like soup, but that doesn't attract me too much, a biological soup. Inside that cocoon, the caterpillar doesn't, it breaks down completely. Scientifically, it creates that biological soup, as I said. Structure that it once had is completely gone. If you were to look at it at that stage, you wouldn't see progress, you'd see chaos. No movement, no visible results, no sign of the future. And yet, yes, yet this is the most important part of the process because from the breakdown, something entirely new begins to form. Cells reorganize, new structure emerges, wings develop, and eventually what crawled what crawled becomes something that can fly. It just comes out. So that's the story of really what happens with a caterpillar. And I told that because that is the metaphor that's always used for change. There's one important thing in there. At a certain part before the big change happens, there's chaos. There's chaos. And in our lives, before big changes happen, there's usually chaos or confusion. Tony Robbins always said this. He says, if you're confused, it's a great thing because you're on the verge of a breakthrough. If you're confused, it's a great thing because you're on the verge of a breakthrough. And that happens so often. When we get totally confused as what's going on, all of a sudden, after a while of that confusion, the light bulb goes off and you get your breakthrough. Things start to change. That's when you can start to really become someone else. We're always becoming something a little different as we grow, but it's more so when we go through big intense things, whether they're positive or negative. Adversity, for instance, it actually changes us, and usually for the good if we look at it that way. If we say, okay, what can I get from this? How is this going to make me a better person? It changes us whether we wanted it to or not, but we can actually look to see how we want to get changed. So yeah, it's all about becoming today. And those are what our quotes are of today is, what is this about becoming? When I talk about goals and when I talk about, the things we want in life, it's, what we want to get, what we want to achieve, and what we want to become or who we want to become. That's the three big things, but that who we want to become or what we want to become is the important thing because that changes for us for the rest of our lives. Harold Dweck says becoming is better than being. We're, in this age when we talk about presence and we talk about enjoy being, being is almost a stagnant force, right? Becoming, when you look at it from that perspective, becoming is better than being because, if we have control and we all have control of who we want to become, we can become something greater than we are in this moment. Yeah. It is growth, by the way. That's why Carol Dweck, who is the guru of growth, that's why she's talking about that. All right. Let's look at our next one. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. George Bernard Shaw. Life isn't about finding yourself. It's about creating yourself. I love it because finding yourself says, hey, you're going to find something that's there that you don't control. Creating yourself says, hey, I am in control. I'm in control of the process that I'm going through. Right? We're not in control of everything. We know that. But we're in control of who we can become. We're in control of the way we think and the reactions we have, which shape who we're becoming. All right. There's no arriving, only becoming. I like that one. There's no arriving. People don't, the people that I know that don't set goals, they don't set them because they don't want to arrive somewhere and then say, now where do I go? Goals, you can consider goals as like aims. I'm going for this. And then where am I going to go after that? We don't plateau, we go in steps. We go in steps. Don't be afraid to set goals because once you set them, you don't know what you're going to do after that. But people are often afraid to set goals because they don't reach them as well. But if you learn why you didn't reach them, if you learn that you still want to, then it's a wonderful idea. If you learn that, setting that goal and it's a goal that it's not for you after a while, because sometimes we do learn that. We learn that, hey, this isn't going to be me once I hit this goal, so I'm not going to hit it. That's okay too. That's okay too. Please, if you're not setting goals, please do. We delight in the beauty of a butterfly. Hey, what a coincidence. I just talked about a butterfly, but really admit the changes it has gone through. We'll look at the butterfly and say, oh, how beautiful. And in some deep down way, we might think, I'd love to be that butterfly, so beautiful. But we don't look at the changes it's gone through to achieve that beauty. Okay? We go through changes to achieve that beauty too. All right. What you are is what you have been. This is an interesting way to look at it. What you are is what you have been. What you will be is what you do now. Really interesting. So in the present, the choices that I make are going to affect who I'm becoming. The choices that I make, the decisions that I make in my life, in my work, business, in my relationships, in my health, my physical health, my mental health, the choices that I make are going to be who I am becoming. Okay? Who I'll be. Next, the person. Oh, here we go. Growth is never by mere chance. Growth is never by mere chance. It is a result of forces working together. All right. Now, James Cash Penny, penny is no longer cash. It's no longer being made, the pennies. Now, let's go to this. Growth is never by mere chance. It's a result of forces working together. Now, sometimes those forces, if you're not paying attention, they're out of your control and you're not part of that. But you want to be part of those forces that are working together to make you the change, the growth that you want in you. You want to be a part of that. As I always say at the end of this live stream, I say, have a great day, have a fantastic day. But it's not because I'm wishing it for you, it's because it's in your power to make it so. All right. Make your growth in the direction that you want to. Understand that you are growing. Understand that it is a process. And it's a continual process. And you can get there when you want to. And when you get there, you can look and say, where else do I want to go? Life is amazing when you look at it that way. It's like there's just so much out there to do. Now, I don't look at life as just those experiences of getting things, acquiring things, and things like that. A lot of people look at success as that, the bigger house, the better car. I like that stuff, but it's not all that. Matter of fact, that stuff isn't the primary things that make you happy. Primary things that make you happy is the experiences you have with yourself and others, the experiences you have in nature, the experiences you have just in your thought processes. Being happy and being enriched is a great thing. And that's what I look for. I don't look for the things I want to acquire. That's when people focus on the money. That's when people focus on the money. It doesn't take money to make you happy. Granted, it can help, but you know what? People with lots of money who always thought they lived and always thought that the money makes them happy, they find themselves at a place at some point where all that money no longer makes them happy. All that money doesn't do a thing. They need to have personal enrichment. They need to have relationships, really good relationships that have nothing to do with money. Okay. This has been great. I hope you like this. If you like this, please like this, comment, and share with your friends. I love it when you can share coffee with Kevin, and particularly have a hot cup of coffee that's delicious, hot cup of tea, or whatever drink. Share it with me during these 15 to 20 minutes. All right, all. Take care. Now, I will see you next week.